Some footballers become icons for a whole generation, but each year there are less and less such players. At the end of every season, clubs part ways with some of their leaders, and most often the reason for that is age. From time to time, fan favorites have to leave the places where they spent their best years and hugely contributed to their team's success. Goal24 presents you a list of top 10 club legends who are leaving by the end of this season. But before we start, answer a question. Which of these players played more matches for Real Madrid? Roberto Carlos, Zinedine Zidane, Fernando Hierro, Cristiano Ronaldo? Leave your answer in the comments, and now we begin. Joaquin Sanchez, Real Betis. The 41-year-old veteran was going to retire at the end of the last season, but the board of Los Verde Blancos managed to persuade him to sign a short-term contract. Joaquin is a club academy product and has made a name for himself mostly thanks to the club. His first team debut took place in 1999 when he was only 18. For a long time, Sanchez was considered a promising La Liga player, but despite a lot of interest, he stayed at the club until 2006. During this time, the winger helped Betis win the Copa del Rey and qualify for the Champions League for the first time in history. When Joaquin realized that for further progress he needed to leave the Benito Villamarin Stadium, he moved to Valencia. Later, he played for clubs like Malaga and Fiorentina, but in neither team he was able to level up and become a star. In 2015, the footballer returned to Betis and never left the club afterwards. During his second spell at the club, as expected, Joaquin became one of the team leaders and helped the team to balance somewhere in the middle of the table. Last season, they even won the Spanish Cup, which became the third in Joaquin's career, considering the one he won while at Valencia. This season, Sanchez had a very limited time on the pitch. He played only 5 matches and 157 minutes in La Liga, but during this short time, he made 1 assist in the competition. Obviously, this campaign is going to be the last one in Joaquin's professional career, as Betis is hardly going to offer a new contract to a player who can rarely be seen on the pitch. It is even more doubtful that the player is going to move to another club or even receive a decent offer. Well, he's 41, so it's probably time to think about retirement. Raúl Albiol, Villarreal. Ex-Real Madrid footballer moved to the Yellow Submarine only in 2019 after spending 6 years at Napoli. By the moment he signed the contract, Albiol was already 34 years old. But in spite of this, he proved himself as a solid footballer and became a fan favorite at El Estadio de la Cerámica very quickly. As Unai Emery took over the team in 2020, Albiol was getting more playing time. Raúl showed a very mature game and boast in the defense. In the 2021 season, Villarreal won their first trophy in history by beating Man United in the Europa League final. The defender had a huge contribution to this triumph. The fact is that without his huge experience and professionalism, the Submarine would have hardly succeeded. A couple of months later, after winning the Europa League, Villarreal received the chance to win the UEFA Super Cup. The Yellow Submarine's opponents were another English club, Chelsea. Albiol missed a penalty in that match, and the Spanish team lost the title. But that did not really affect his reputation, as sometime later Raúl played a very important role in another European Cup success. In spring 2022, Villarreal reached the Champions League semi-final for the second time in their history, knocking out mighty clubs like Juventus and Bayern. All these achievements made Albiol a very important player in the Villarreal's fans' eyes. Besides, Unai Emery rightfully gave Raúl the captain's armband. However, as the Spaniard left the manager's post, Albiol's contract extension is under a big question. The defender's current contract expires at the end of this season, and it's doubtful that the new manager, Quique Setién, who plays more attacking football, wants to see 37-year-old Albiol in his squad for the next season. Samir Handanovic, Inter. This summer, Nerazzurri signed Andre Onana as a free agent. This transfer could mean only one thing. The board is preparing the club for the departure of their captain Samir Handanovic. Before October, the Slovenian was Inter's first-choice goalkeeper, But then Simone Inzaghi started to trust Onana more. The departure of the 38-year-old keeper is a done deal for the club management. Another proof of that is the fact that during the negotiations for his contract extension, Milan Skriniar was promised the captain's armband in the upcoming season. And obviously, this is impossible without Handanovic leaving the club. The current season was the 11th for Samir at Inter. Without exaggeration, he became one of the best goalkeepers in the world at Giuseppe Meazza, keeping a clean sheet in 163 matches out of 447. Also, the player has won Serie A, the Italian Cup and Super Cup. We're yet to find out whether Handanovic will continue his career or not. If the keeper doesn't retire, he can join a smaller Italian club or leave for the MLS. Mats Hummels, Borussia Dortmund. During his career, the defender joined the BVB twice, and both times he departed from Bayern Munich. At first in 2009, the footballer was not needed at Die Roten, and he was kicked out to Dortmund. At Signal Iduna Park, Hummels stuck it to his former club and won the Bundesliga twice. Under the guidance of Jurgen Klopp, Mats grew into one of the best players in his position. That's why a club of Bayern's level could not pass by such a player who was also their academy product. In 2016, the defender returned to Munich, but it didn't end well again. 3 seasons later, he left the club and moved to Borussia, where he was really welcome. As he returned to Signal Iduna Park, Hummels realized that the club is far from the level they showed in the beginning of the 2010s. The BVB were not serious title contenders anymore and were not fighting to win the Champions League. The status of Mats declined, however he became an important player for Dortmund once again. Anyway, it makes no sense to argue that the footballer spent his best years in Borussia. Probably some fans may still have some grudge over his move to Bayern in 2016, but despite this, Mats is one of the most prominent players at Borussia in the 21st century. Anyway, his contract is coming to an end in July 2023, and while the press is not talking much about its potential extension, we must admit that it's January already. İlkay Gündoğan, Manchester City. If a season ago some might have had doubts about calling the German a club legend, this season proved there is no doubt about it. The main reason for that is the last match day of the English Premier League, where the destiny of the title was decided. When Man City was losing to Aston Villa 2-0, Gündoğan was subbed in and scored a brace, helping the team defend the title and beating Liverpool in the race. After his move to Etihad in 2016, İlkay has managed to win many domestic trophies with the club. The only missing title is the Champions League Cup. The citizens only managed to get to the final in that competition. Since the end of the last season, there have been rumors about Gündoğan's possible departure in summer 2023 when his contract expires. Barcelona is interested in the player, but some clubs from Bundesliga will be happy to sign him too. The player himself is not sure yet where he wants to move to in the next season. Today, İlkay is a key player in Josep Guardiola's team, but hardly the parties will be able to agree on salary. 32-year-old Gündoğan knows that this is going to be his last more or less large contract. That's why he'd want to get a decent sum. Will the city satisfy his demands? That's a big question for now. N'Golo Kanté and Thiago Silva, Chelsea. This summer, 2 very important players may leave Stamford Bridge. If we talk about Kanté, the Frenchman joined the Blues in summer 2016 after having an incredible debut season at Leicester and sensationally winning the Premier League. N'Golo ideally fit the team as he moved to Chelsea and won the title once again. The midfielder is so good that many pundits think he's the best defensive midfielder in the world till now. During his spell at Chelsea, Kanté became a real fan favorite and won all the possible trophies, except the League Cup. The Blues lost 2 finals in penalty shootouts. Relatively recently, N'Golo hugely contributed to the victory in the Champions League final. In the semi-finals against Real Madrid and in the final against Manchester City, the midfielder as usual worked as hard as 3 players and did his best for the outcome. However, lately Kanté has been very injury-prone. At the beginning of the season, the Frenchman was injured, and now he has to be out of the game until March. His injury proneness and his age of 31 are not inspiring the new Chelsea board at all. Todd Boehly and others are not eager to extend Kanté's contract, especially if the highest paid player is not going to agree to a serious salary reduction. Barcelona will be very happy to get the player as a free agent, but they won't be the only choice for the Frenchman. Thiago Silva may become another player to part ways with Chelsea. The defender joined the club in summer 2020 from PSG on a free transfer, but since then he has managed to earn the love of the Stamford Bridge public. The experienced Brazilian arrived in the Premier League at the age of 36. Many were expecting him to give in to the pace of the most intensive tournament in the world and return to his homeland to retire at a Brazilian club. But Silva became a real director in the Chelsea defense and was becoming better and better from match to match. Even today, when Silva is 38, he can be confidently named as one of the best Premier League defenders. In more than 2 years at Chelsea, Thiago won the Champions League, UEFA Super Cup and the FIFA Club World Cup. The majority of the supporters do not want him to leave, but considering his intention to stay at the club until the end of the Qatar World Cup, the extension of his contract is doubtful. In an interview at the beginning of the season, Silva announced he wanted to play professionally until 40, but only he knows where he's going to spend these last 2 years, in England or in Brazil, but even that is not 100% yet. David De Gea, Manchester United. The Spaniard joined Man United at a very young age, moving from Atletico Madrid when he was 20. The young goalkeeper had a very serious task to complete: replace legendary Edwin van der Sar, who had retired a few months ago. It should be mentioned that David succeeded in this. In the first 2 seasons under the management of Sir Alex Ferguson, De Gea showed a very good game and won the Premier League title with the team. In the following years, the Red Devils' performance dropped, but it was David to help the team gain important points and stay on the surface. With his unbelievable saves, De Gea proved that he is one of the best keepers not only in the Premier League, but in the whole world. Real Madrid were attentively following his progress for some time. In summer 2015, Los Blancos were very close to completing a swap deal involving Keylor Navas and a fee of around 33 million euros. Fortunately or not, the transfer failed due to a fax error, after which Real Madrid never came back for David. In the last few years, the goalkeeper doesn't make those deadly saves anymore, just like in the best years of his career. The player did not even make it into the final lineup of the Spanish national team for the World Cup, giving way to Unai Simón, David Raya and Robert Sanchez. De Gea has problems on the club level too. Manager Erik ten Hag is not happy with David, especially with his foot play. The Dutchman has already let the board know that he wants to get a new keeper this summer. The options include Diogo Costa from Porto and even 34-year-old Jan Sommer from Borussia Mönchengladbach. His contract is also expiring at the end of summer 2023, just like De Gea's. David himself doesn't mind staying at Old Trafford, but the Red Devils are prepared to keep him only as a substitute. Moreover, the board wants him to agree to a salary decrease, but it seems very unlikely. However, through the 12-year spell at Man United, De Gea proved himself as arguably the best player of that period. If he could play better with his feet, and if he could successfully overcome the opposition pressing, his move from Atletico in 2011 would have been one of the best transfers in the history of the club. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, AC Milan. The legendary Swede has played in 9 different clubs throughout his career, but with AC Milan he has set up a special connection. Though Zlatan used to play for their fierce rivals Inter after his move to AC Milan in 2011, the forward has always spoken about the club with special tenderness. During his first 2 years at San Siro, Ibrahimovic won the Scudetto and the Italian Super Cup. After that, he received a very lucrative offer from PSG and moved to France. But it appeared that their love story with AC Milan was not over yet. After spells at Man United and Los Angeles Galaxy, the striker returned to Milan in 2020. He was 39 by that time, but the age was not an obstacle for the player to show a great game and help the team to qualify for the Champions League for the first time since 2013. A season later, Ibrahimovic went even further and won the Scudetto with the Rossoneri for the first time since the 2010-11 season. At that moment, Zlatan was seriously considering retiring and starting an agent's career. A serious injury at the end of the season made the situation even worse. Ibrahimovic knew he would return only in winter 2023, but that didn't scare him, and he extended his contract with AC Milan. For now, it is very possible he will end his career this summer. Even if he returns effectively and contributes to the club results, it is still possible he will hang his boots. Knowing Zlatan, we can predict he would want to retire in his prime. Although taking his eccentric words literally, there is still some hope that a Swede's career is far from over. I'm not surprised by my performances. I am the best. I have nothing more to prove, but I don't want to retire and then regret it, thinking I could have continued. I don't want to stop until I'm kicked out, well and truly finished. Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba and Sergi Roberto, Barcelona. The Blaugranas are still fighting financial problems. That's why the board may sacrifice a few players to free some wage budget. And these players are definitely club legends. Besides Gerard Piqué, who has already hung his boots, we should mention Captain Sergio Busquets. The midfielder, who gets 37 million euros per year, has been in talks with the board for several months concerning the decrease of his salary. But these negotiations are ineffective yet. In the current situation, the club cannot afford having a player with such a salary, despite his legendary status. The midfielder debuted for Barca in 2008 under the management of Josep Guardiola, and since then he has become one of the best halfbacks in the world, who has a great ability of destroying the opposition pressing and dictating the tempo. During all these years, Busquets has played 696 games for Barcelona. Only two players have played more, their current manager Xavi and Lionel Messi. Sergio has 3 Champions League victories, as well as 8 La Liga and 7 Spanish Cup titles under his belt. Busquets wants to leave Barcelona by the end of the season and move to MLS, where Inter Miami waits for him. The Blaugranas themselves want to keep the player, but only with the salary deduction. Unfortunately for the board, several trustworthy sources have confirmed that Sergio's departure is practically inevitable. The player doesn't want to lose money agreeing to a lower wage. Not so long ago, the player announced his retirement from the national team. Probably, this is one of the first steps towards the end of a top-flight career. Jordi Alba was also raised by Barca, but the player had to prove his qualities at Valencia to win a place in the team. In 2012, Jordi returned to Catalonia to become a first-11 player. Thanks to his great game as a left-back, the Spaniard became one of the best in the world in that position. At the moment, Alba has 441 caps for Barcelona. He has won 5 La Liga and 5 Copa del Rey titles, as well as 1 Champions League Cup. The defender is currently the 3rd highest paid player in the club, receiving 20,830,000 euros per year, which is a big pain for the club. Due to Alex Valdez's progress and Xavi's trust in Marcos Alonso, Alba's playing time has significantly decreased. Considering all the aforementioned facts and the expiring contract, it will be no shock if Jordi moves to another club in summer 2023. Press has been recently linking him to Atletico Madrid, but these are only rumors yet. And the 3rd Barcelona Academy product, who will most probably leave the club this summer, is Sergi Roberto. The player has been so versatile, he could play in the center of the midfield or on the right wing of defense, giving the coaches more options for the build-up. The footballer has 328 matches for Barca under his belt, but despite the impressive numbers, he has never been considered a star player. Roberto has been the player who worked very hard on the pitch, staying in the shade and never receiving the deserved praise. However, he has won 2 Champions League titles and 6 La Liga and Copa del Rey trophies. Most probably, the most memorable moment in his career was the goal against PSG, without which it would have been impossible to complete the historic comeback in the second leg of the 2016-17 Champions League first knockout stage. According to his current contract, Roberto earns only €5 million a year. It's not the biggest sum, but considering that the 30-year-old player is not very much valued by the board, the most probable outcome at the moment will be his departure as a free agent. Toni Kroos, Nacho Fernandez, Real Madrid. The German moved to Real Madrid in 2014 from Bayern Munich. From that moment on, he formed a great cooperation with Luka Modric and Casemiro, thanks to which they won 4 Champions League titles. Besides, the midfielder has played 383 matches for Real Madrid, becoming the champions of Spain 3 times. There's only a few months left on his contract now. Considering that Toni has won the most prestigious trophies several times already, we can conclude that the player might have lost his motivation, as there are many rumors that the German wants to end his professional career. But if Kroos doesn't retire, there's a chance he continues his career in MLS, where several clubs are interested to sign him, including Inter Miami. Whatever the case, Kroos' future is still a mystery. Although Los Blancos are ready to offer him a new short-term contract, the footballer is not in a hurry to sign it and may decide to leave. According to rumors, the midfielder has to announce about his decision until March 2023, so there's not much left to wait. Considering Nacho, the 32-year-old Spaniard has been successfully fulfilling the duty of a substitute defender for several years. He did so reliably that the absence of playing time never affected his game. This way, Fernandez has played 286 matches in Real Madrid shirt, winning 5 Champions League, 3 La Liga and 1 Spanish Cup trophies. The board was ready to extend his contract, but suddenly, in the middle of the season, Nacho declared that he was not happy with his current role and wanted to play in the first 11. There were rumors of Nacho being sold in the winter transfer window, but considering the lack of depth in the squad, he will most probably leave by the end of the season. Of course, legendary Luka Modric can also be included in this list, but the 37-year-old Croatian will most probably extend his contract with Los Blancos. After all, it would be crazy letting such a great player go. Karim Benzema's contract is also expiring this summer, but according to many reputable sources, after he won the Ballon d'Or, the Frenchman's contract has been automatically extended for a year. All players leave their clubs sooner or later, but the ones who stay longer at the clubs usually face painful departures. It is hard to stay emotionally indifferent towards a club where you've spent your best years accumulating so many happy memories. Anyway, all players have to face it. Dear friends, which player do you think has contributed the most in the success of his club? Let us know your opinion in the comments. We'll be happy to read them. See you soon.